So I run a youth program at my local mosque in which I pretty much work with kids ranging from the ages of 14 to 18 to not only mentor them on basic life lessons, but then also perhaps to use some of the experiences that I've had so far in my life to talk with them and see if there are any similarities or reflections we can have on Saturday nights that in which they can pretty much, listen to some of the experiences that I've had and see if they can benefit from them. So it's a Saturday night right now. I've just finished working with the kids from the program that I run at the mosque. It is currently 11:49, and I decided to come into the office to film this video real quick because I had a really good discussion with them that I think would be beneficial to make a video about for my viewers on this YouTube channel. So the topic that we discussed today, similar to the title of this video, had to do with their struggles. What I decided to do was we all sat in a circle today, and I went around the circle and I told them one by one, guys, I want to know from you what your struggles are on a daily basis. So keep in mind, these are kids anywhere from the age range of, let's say, 14 to 18. And we went around. Some people said it was laziness. Some people said it was time management. Some people said it was lack of motivation. Other people said it was being on social media all the time and having this constant expectation of comparisons. But the main kind of pattern that I heard consistently for that age range, which was a struggle similar to me that I had in that age range, was time management, laziness, and lack of motivation. These were the struggles, like honestly many other people for any other age group, that they had and the issues that we addressed tonight. So after I asked them what their struggles were and they said the answers that I gave you, I then decided to go around the circle one more time and I asked them, what is it about these struggles in particular that make you guys identify them as struggles? And a lot of people said it was because it made them feel like they weren't productive. Because of their laziness, because of their lack of time management skills, because of their lack of motivation, it made them feel like they weren't the version of themselves that they could potentially be, the version of themselves that is admirable. And so that was really where I took over, and I decided to give them some tips, and we had a really good discussion for over an hour, where I pretty much just decided to advise them, given my experiences and the skills that I have to help you manage or rather gain the skills for time management, get over laziness, and become more motivated. So that is what I wanted to go over today in this video, and why I've decided on this title, which is how to get over your struggles, or something along the lines of that, depending on what I finalize on when I am editing this video later. So let's get into it. How to get over your struggles, especially for the new year, and especially if you are someone that is suffering from a lack of motivation, a lack of skill in time management, and you suffer from a great amount of laziness. The first piece of advice that I gave them was identifying what is the actual routine that actually makes you feel productive and you're aspiring to chase. So step number one, let's identify the routine. The routine that I gave them, which a lot of people agreed with, was as Muslims, as people that believe in God, number one, it is keeping up with your prayers. Number two, it is doing some form of work, whether that is schoolwork or whether that is contributing work towards your career. And then number three, it is doing some form of exercise or some sort of contribution towards your health for the day. We went around the circle once again, and everybody agreed that in order to feel productive, in order to have a good day, which is also kind of the template that I use for myself, you need to keep up with your prayers, contribute towards your work or your career, and contribute towards your health. Generally speaking, you do need to have an idea of where you want to go. If you are staring into a cave with no end and it's just complete darkness, you don't have a place that you're going to go. You don't actually have the target or the goal that you want to hit. So when you have a goal to hit something, or when you are, let's say, in a position in your life in which you're not happy and you want to get going somewhere, you need to first identify the target that you want to get to. So the target that we identified for this group today was doing these three things. The next thing was first identifying what was the easiest of them to do. So out of the three things, what is the one thing that you are the most passionate about, or the thing that is easily within reach for you? For me, that's health and fitness. So I've been in the gym and I've been prioritizing my health and I've been doing martial arts from a very young age, but I've specifically gotten into lifting when I was 14. 7 years later at 21, I've been consistently lifting, and the reason that I've been able to do that is because I genuinely have a love for this thing in particular. I know with lifting specifically, when I started out, I saw some really good results very early on because of the newbie gains that come with being a newbie lifter. And I fell in love with it. That was really the end of it for me. I had seen enough of the results from the beginning, and I figured, all right, I just want more and more and more of it. And here I am 7 years later. So the next step in getting over your struggles is, after identifying the target, you want to identify what is the low-hanging fruit that you can start to grab that will make you feel like you've had a productive day, that will make you feel like you've actually done something that is worthy of admiration and will actually get you out of that slump of constantly looking at yourself in the mirror and thinking, I'm not the person that I want to be. The next and final step that I've instructed them to do is starting to build momentum. So we've said so far, the way that you can get over your struggle is by first identifying the target of what will actually make you the version of yourself that you want to be. It is grabbing the low-hanging fruit. And then once you grab the low-hanging fruit, you start to build momentum on the type of person that you want to be. So ultimately, we want to be the best version of ourselves. You in this moment have a version of yourself that is worse than you are right now. You have your current self, and then you have the best version of yourself. I'm talking about the version of yourself that has the car that you want, has the house that you want, has the life that you want, has the type of money that you want. You need to ask yourself, that version of yourself, what does their day-to-day look like? What does that daily routine look like for that type of individual? You need to start envisioning what that routine would be so that you can actually live up to it and become that type of person. Because realistically, you're not going to get anywhere if you don't apply the change. If you stay as you are right now, you will not then become the version of yourself that is different than you are in your current state. It's a very simple logic. So if you are where you are right now and you want to become somebody else, you need to start, or rather the best version of yourself, you need to start becoming or taking on the routine that will help you become that best version of yourself. So with that concept being in the back of your head, the way that you start to get into that routine, which, assuming that that best version of yourself probably has some sort of consistency, it is building up momentum. So the next thing I instructed them on doing was wake up tomorrow and tell yourself, today I have the intention of making this the best day possible. I have the intention of living like the best version of myself. What does that look like? So for me, that is waking up at least 6 a.m. or earlier, catching the first prayer of the day, Fajr at the mosque, going to the gym, or doing some form of exercise, whether that could be a walk or lifting, getting to work and working for at least 7 to 8 hours in that day, going to my jiu-jitsu class, so taking part in another form of fitness, which for me is martial arts. I do jiu-jitsu. And then after that point, it's probably 8 p.m. If I haven't worked out in the morning, I work out at that time. Or after that, I'll use that time to relax, maybe review some Quran, and just call it a night. I'd imagine that that is what the best version of me could be doing. I've made this version of myself back in the beginning of 2024. And thank God I can say that for the majority of 2024, I've been able to live this life. And it's definitely yielded me the results, because the position that I'm in now in the beginning of 2025 is completely different than the person that I was in the beginning of 2024. And it basically had to do with following these three things: identifying my target, getting started by grabbing the low-hanging fruit that I can grab to get closer to that goal. And then once I've been doing this for, let's say, 2 to 3 days, I start to build a sort of momentum that I want to stay on. Excuse me. When you're on the path to building something great and you actually start to see results for the things that you invested your time, money, and energy and effort into, you want more of it. You want to keep it going. You don't want to lose the momentum that you've built so far. So all you need to do is build some sort of momentum, and that'll get you going for, let's say, a week, and then 2 weeks, and 3 weeks, and a month. And then after a month, let's say you're starting to feel a little burnt out, so you need a break. Even if you take that break, you can always turn around and look back and realize, I've actually built something so far that is worthy of me continuing on this journey. So you take your break and you get back on it, and you do this for now 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, so you look back and you're a completely different person than when you started. Maybe you still haven't hit your goal 100%, but you're definitely an improved version of yourself. And that's what we want to do here. Now, when it comes to addressing each of the 3 struggles that we have brought up in the beginning of this video originally, they are laziness, lack of time management, and lack of motivation. How do we address them on a micro and a macro basis? Because that's how I usually like to understand concepts. What can I do right now on the micro basis? And what is the general concept that I keep in the back of my head on a macro basis? So, in terms of macro, you need to just understand that at the end of the day, in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, the time will pass. Whether you want to spend that time continuing to doom scroll yourself into oblivion on your phone, or you decide, all right, now is the time that I'm going to get up and I'm going to make a change, it's completely up to you. You are the only person that is going to continue giving yourself excuses to not become the version of yourself that you want to become. So now you need to ask yourself, you need to have that moment of reflection and look yourself in the mirror. What do I want to do? Do I want to sit here and, pity myself a little more in my puddle of tears? Or do I want to get up? Do I want to take the risk and at least try? You need to sit in the discomfort of not being the version of yourself for so long, I think, that you just get sick of yourself. At least that's what it was for me. I didn't necessarily have the switch or the equation or the one motivational video answer sort of solution that I watched, and then I went from being a completely lazy, incapable individual into becoming Elon Musk. For me, it was, I spent so much time in the laziness, in the lack of motivation, in this constant state of discomfort and dissatisfaction with myself that I got sick of myself. That I simply said, I need to do whatever I need to do in order to just get out of this state. And it then went from me transitioning I basically just had a simple transition in which I said, I'm going to now start rejecting the pain of being mediocre to accept the pain of growth. Either way, so long as you exist, you will accept some form of pain. That is just the nature of humanity. That's either going to be the pain of being mediocre or the pain of growth. I've been living in pain already because I hadn't been satisfied with the type of individual that I am. So I just switched it out for the pain of growth. Because at the very least with the pain of growth, you feel a sense of satisfaction at the end of the day or at the end of a completion of a task, given that you can look back and you say, I have something that I can vouch for. I have something that I have created. Or I have something that I have completed. So now that you've accepted the pain of growth, you need something to actually chase after. This was an idea that I got from Chris Williamson. In order for you to actually find success in something you're trying to accomplish, you need a fear that you're running away from, while at the same time having a goal that you're running after and trying to accomplish. You need to identify this fear and this goal for you. My fear that I was running away from was being a bum. I, from a very young age, have had a massive fear of failure, a massive fear of a lack of preparation, and a massive fear of not being good enough. Not because I had a lack of resources. Let me say that again. I had a fear of failure ever since I was younger, not from a fear of having a lack of resources, but from a fear of having all the resources in the world and not being able to use them. So for me, the fear that I was running away from was being in as lucky as a position as I'm in right now and not being able to use the gifts that I've been given. And ultimately, as I mentioned earlier, in one word, just being a bum. Someone that's been given everything, someone that hasn't made any use of it, and someone that is, in short, a failure in life. A failure to the people around you, a failure financially, a failure physically. That is what I was running away from. The goal that I was chasing was the life that anybody could ever dream of. Having more wealth than you know what to do with, being able to retire your parents, having the cars you want, the house you want, being able to travel, having the resources and the capabilities that will allow you to not only find the comfort in the space to get closer to God, but then even to give other people that ability. As a Muslim, I visit Mecca and Medina and I go perform the holy pilgrimage Umrah. So having enough money to do that anytime I wanted, So when you identify the fear, when you identify the goal that you're chasing, and you're in the middle of it, you're pretty much in the perfect equilibrium that you need to be in order for you to progress towards a better future. Because you have something that you're running away from, and you have something that you're chasing. So you develop this beautiful constant motion towards exactly where you want to be. This is now when we get into the conversation of identifying your why. So ultimately, even bigger than just the materialistic things that I was chasing, what is my why? And for me, the why is not only having the best of this world, but having the best of the next world as well as a Muslim. This is another concept that we can get into in a different video, but you need to look at the bigger picture and identify your why. So, getting back on topic, because, this is such a topic that I'm so passionate about that I will tend to get into a lot of other subtopics with it. Addressing the laziness, addressing the lack of time management skills, and addressing the lack of motivation. Motivation is an emotion that comes and goes, right? So you cannot expect to do anything great relying solely off of just motivation. What do you do about the days that you don't feel motivated? Motivation is great to have when you have it, but when you don't have it, that's when you need to rely on discipline. And so ultimately, you'll be able to develop the discipline to continue to do things even when you don't want to do them because your why is big enough, right? So one of the specific conversations, or one of the specific examples that we had rather in the group discussion today, was about getting into the gym. So one of the kids that was there asked me, how can you get consistent with the gym? And I told him, what is your why? And he told me just very general stuff. I want to get healthy, I want to get better, it's good for your body, blah, blah, blah. Nothing that ever really stuck. So I told him, you need to have a more specific why. And once again, I resorted to my own experiences, and I felt back to what got me into the gym. What got me into the gym was seeing a video from David Lade of his transformation from, I believe, 14, 17 years old. I saw the incredible transformation that he had, and that was all I needed to see. So my why ultimately was wanting to go from the skinny kid that I was at the time to being this extremely capable, strong, jacked, good-looking individual that was David Lade. I kind of used him as a role model from that video. So that why was a big enough why and a powerful enough why for me that I've been going to the gym consistently every day ever since then. The why to me was I wanted to look good for the sense of the appreciation that you wouldn't only get from others, then also because of the sense of confidence, and then also the sense of appreciation that you have towards yourself for putting in the work to have achieved a beautiful physique. That for me was something that I always admired. That for me was enough to go to the gym even when there was 6 feet of snow outside. Being able to look in the mirror and being proud of yourself and saying, wow, I really have something that I've worked hard for, and here are the results, and I couldn't have imagined it to be any better. So that why to me was enough that, as I mentioned, I've been in the gym consistently for 7 years. For him, I told him, you need to identify what your why is. Maybe for, let's say, an older gentleman, their why is something on the lines of, I want to go to the gym so that I can be healthy, to afford to spend more time with my kids. I mean, think about it. That's a huge why. If you're 40 years old and your kids, let's say, are anywhere in the range of 10 to 20 years old, you are really on the last bit of the time that you have with them. So are you going to be the type of parent that will just let their kids run around and play by themselves while you watch them because you don't have the energy to play with them? Are you going to get up and make them blown away and think, man, my dad is Superman, he's super capable, and he is fit and healthy, and not only has he given us good childhood memories, but also he set a good example for me. He's a good role model for me on the type of person that I want to be when I'm older, and I want to be just like them. I'd imagine there's no better why for, a parent like that to get them in the gym every single day. Like you're running out of time to spend with your kids. And so getting back on track, the idea when it comes to motivation is you cannot rely on it. It's that simple. You need to become disciplined in the way that you will find the energy and the, let's say, reason to build discipline is because your why is big enough. Now, when it comes to managing time management, when it comes to addressing time management specifically, the way that I've addressed time management is not necessarily by the clock or the hours of the day, but by addressing the tasks that I need to complete in that day, and then figuring out how I can do them given the time that I have in the day. So time management to a lot of people, at least from the experiences and the surroundings that I have so far in my life, is being able to do things by a certain time, right? As in like, okay, let's say have 12 hours of the day. I'm spending 6 of them in school, and then I need to spend another 2 hours doing my homework and then whatever else. The idea is that you give yourself timestamps that you need to follow. And for a lot of people, when they don't stick to those timestamps and they don't actually show up on time, they feel like they haven't had a good day. I don't think that's how you should approach time management. I think time management should be approached by identifying tasks that need to be completed throughout the day, and then completing those tasks, and not only that, being able to even use the gaps that you have as efficiently as possible, so that excuse me, in a day where you have 12 hours that you are kind of out and about and being productive in what you need to do, you have efficiently and effectively used 10 of them in comparison to the average, let's say, 9-to-5 worker who will spend, from a study that I've seen, 8 hours in the office, but they're realistically only working 2 to 3 of them. So for me, the tasks that I identified throughout the day are catching my prayers, doing my work, going to jiu-jitsu, going to the gym. I just need to complete those tasks throughout the day. It doesn't matter if I start at 6 a.m., it doesn't matter if I start at 1 p.m. I just need to find a way to complete those tasks. And realistically, there are people that have been successful that have woken up at 6 a.m. and there are people that are successful that have started their day at 8 p.m. Are you going to say that either one of them has a lack of time management skills? Not necessarily, because it comes down to the results that they've yielded, and both have yielded the same results. So the step up that I've taken from there is identifying my gaps. So one of the gaps that I have or actually 2 of the gaps that I have in my time are driving to my office in the morning, which takes about 30 to 45 minutes, this office that I'm filming in right now. And then also the drive back home from here, which takes about an hour because of traffic. These are gaps that, let's say if I had a driver, let's say, I could have efficiently used, because I could be sitting on the back working on my laptop, taking calls, doing tasks on my phone, and been efficiently using those times. But I'm not yet at a level in which I can afford to have a driver. So while I'm driving myself, what I've decided to do to effectively use this time is I listen to podcasts. So I listen to podcasts from Mike Thurston, Chris Williamson, Diary of the CEO. These are just a few of the podcasts that I listen to on a rotation. But what this has done for me is it has allowed me to efficiently use that time. In that time where I could have been, spending it consuming any sort of brain rot content that would have been any productive or beneficial to me at all, I've now replaced it with something that has benefited me. Because a lot of the podcasts that I listen to bring on world-class guests to give advice and to talk and to provide the audience of that podcast with very valuable information. There are a lot of these guests that I've listened to the information they've provided, and they've truly given me beneficial information and education that I've been able to apply to my work, apply to my life, apply to my fitness or any other metric of my life, and truly and genuinely seen an improvement in. So those 2 hours of the day now where I would have spent them just sitting in the car, thinking about random things, stressing about things I have no control over, in some people's case, listening to music, in some other people's cases, they like to drive with one hand while scrolling to their phone on the other. I have now used that time in the best that I can. Even in, let's say, like the hour break that I get, that I give myself throughout the day to eat my lunch here in the office, I will then either listen to the podcast again or tune into another educational video that will address an issue that I'm having with work. So my understanding of time management that has worked for me, that makes sense for me, and that I've also advised the kids in my community volunteer program to do, is identify the tasks that you need to do, complete these tasks, identify the gaps, and then fill the gaps with productive and beneficial information. Because realistically, time management isn't necessarily an issue unless, like, let's say you just don't know how to get places on time, in which even that is a very simple issue to address. You know what I mean? Consider the time it's going to take for you to get there, plan ahead, and get there on time. That's quite the oversimplification, but the idea here is that I don't think time management comes down to being somewhere at a certain time. It comes down to identifying the tasks that need to be completed and then effectively completing them within the window that you have. Or even if, let's say, you needed to complete six tasks throughout the day and you only have a time window that's going to afford you to complete 4 of them. It's being able to adapt to the situation and still making, or rather producing, the best outcome so that you've still had a productive day. So for people that are struggling specifically with laziness, motivation, or time management skills, to go over it one more time. Number 1, identify your target. Imagine what is the best version of yourself and what would they be doing. And then wake up tomorrow and have that day with the intention that you want to become that best version of yourself. What would the best version of myself be doing? To be doing X, Y, and Z in X, Y, and Z time? Okay, I'm going to do that. Next thing, grab the low-hanging fruit. If there is one thing out of, let's say, the 3 or 4 things that you need to do throughout the day that you have a preference for, at the very least, hold on to that one thing. If you can't do all 4 things at once, I'm not expecting you to turn from a complete slob into Elon Musk by the next day. But if you can at least hold on to one task that you can do, hold on to that thing. And then tomorrow, do 2 tasks. And then after day, 3 tasks. And then the day after that, 4 tasks, and so on. Which then leads us into the third step, which is building momentum. Once you've built the momentum to get to where you want to get to, it becomes a lot easier for you to reach that because you now have something to lose. If you give up at this point, you're going to look back and you're going to think, I've broken the chain of all the progress that I've made so far. It's not that the progress itself left, but you are onto something and you don't want to lose it now. And last but not least, when it comes to addressing each of the things individually, motivation is not something you can rely on long term. You need to build discipline, and you build discipline through having a great why. Laziness is something that you can defeat by looking yourself in the mirror and just getting sick of yourself to the extent that you now want to take action and you're choosing the pain of growth over the pain of failure, over the pain of not taking action. And lastly, when it comes to time management, identify the tasks, identify the time gaps, complete the tasks in the time window that you have, and fill your gaps with productive activities. Hopefully I'm getting better and better with each video talking. I think I need to learn how to stick to one topic throughout the video, but hopefully you found some benefit from something I said today. I'll see you in the next one.